Stay tuned for an exclusive clip of my first Europe adventure, up now on Patreon. Los Angeles is the second largest city in America, with an urban population of 3.8 million and a metro population of 18.4 million. It's a massive hub for American industry and culture. But for such a big city, why does most of its metro system look like this, and most of its regional rail look like this? And how did it end up here after having the biggest electric railway in the world? Does it have something to do with this? The only way to find out is to go for a ride. I started my journey into LA on the Amtrak Pacific Surfliner, which links San Diego to Los Angeles before continuing up to San Luis Obispo. While it's got the scenery of a long-distance train, sometimes running just feet from the Pacific Ocean, the Surfliner is also the most popular Amtrak corridor train outside of the Northeast, with 1.5 million riders in 2023, and at Oceanside, 82.5 miles south of Los Angeles, it's joined by Metrolink, LA's commuter rail. Metrolink services are overseen by the Southern California Regional Rail Authority, and they're operated under contract by Amtrak. They've been operating since 1992, and today the system consists of 8 lines across the region. From Oceanside, Metrolink's Orange County line parallels the Surfliner all the way into Los Angeles. The Inland Empire Orange County line also parallels the Surfliner until Orange, when it splits off towards San Bernardino. San Clemente may have the best transit-accessible beach on the West Coast, with 29 Orange County trains on weekdays and 8 on weekend days. Now, you might have noticed something odd in all of that. America's second largest city has only had modern commuter rail since 1992? Well, there's a bigger picture to this, but we'll get to that. After San Clemente, the Surfliner curves inland and rolls through the greater LA region. It passes Anaheim Station, whose design absolutely slaps, and runs just a fastball away from the Anaheim Angels Stadium, before arriving into LA Union Station, the terminus of most Metrolink services. We'll take a ride on a commuter train later, but for now, we need to meet the other major player in LA Transit, the people who run these trains. This is LA's metro rail system. It and the city's bus network are run by the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transit Authority, branded as LA Metro. Now, if you're not familiar with LA, pause here and guess which of the lines you see are heavy metro. Made your guess? Okay, it's these two. The 14.7-mile B from Union Station downtown to North Hollywood, and the 5.1-mile D, which interlines with it before splitting off to Wilshire Western. The rest of the system is light rail, which began operation in 1990. The two longest lines are the 22-mile E line, which runs from East LA to Santa Monica via downtown, and the A line from Azusa to Long Beach, which at 48.5 miles is the longest light rail line in the world. Take that, Belgium! The C and K lines round out the map. My first trip would be on the light rail from Southwest Museum to Union Station. A train of Kinky Chariot P3010s pulled up, and I was off. Now, you might have noticed something odd just now. Despite having a heavy rail subway, LA Metro Rail is over 50% light rail in both length and ridership. It's one of only 2 systems in the country with that distinction, the other being Baltimore. How did America's second largest city end up with such a network? Well, we'll get to that. The line passes some low-density housing and the concrete trench holding the Los Angeles River, before approaching Union Station on this cool winding bridge, dropping us next to the platforms for Amtrak and Metrolink. I got off and headed down to the concourse, out into the east entrance to Union Station, and down into the Los Angeles subway. This subway station opened in 1993 as part of the system's initial segment, and it's currently the terminus for both B and D subway services. It wasn't too long before a Breda A650 train pulled up and I hopped on board. If I was hoping for views, I'd be sorely disappointed, as the entire metro system is underground, save only for that yard we saw earlier. It's the only US system built like this.
So I got on the wrong line. I was trying to get on the red line, but I got on the purple line instead.
Caleb didn't do his research.
Easy mistake to make since the lines share most of their track up until this station here on the map.
Now, if you know a thing or two about American metro systems, you might have noticed something odd just now. Most heavy metro systems in the US opened well before 1993. You had the pre-war systems, the post-war systems, and a couple of late bloomers. And then there's LA Metro, which was the last new heavy metro system ever built in the continental United States. Don't worry, our islands are still going strong. Its early expansion even featured in the 1994 film Speed. How did America's second largest city get its last metro subway? Well, we'll get to that. Right now, I'm hopping off at North Hollywood, the end of the B line. If you look carefully here, you can see an old station building for something called the Pacific Electric. Remember that name for later. From here, I boarded one of LA's 2,000 plus buses to a very special destination.
So with all the fun things to do in Los Angeles, why did I come to this random industrial area? Well, fans of The Office will recognize the building behind me as the headquarters of Dunder Mifflin Scranton.
I took an Uber from Dunder Mifflin to Van Nuys Station, just to the north. Just a few moments after I arrived, a Metrolink Ventura County Line train roared into the station, with its iconic Hyundai Rotem cab car at the front. This route was inbound from Ventura to LA Union Station. The very next station serves Burbank's Bob Hope Airport, the only airport with direct rail service in the greater LA area, and a hub for the fledgling budget airline Avelo, which you can see more of in this video. Now you might have noticed something odd just now. If Burbank is the only airport with direct rail, what about LAX, Los Angeles' main airport, which is a hub for most major US airlines, and the second busiest in the nation by passenger traffic? Well, right now they get a bus to downtown. How did that happen? We'll get to that. For now, I hopped off in Glendale, where a pair of EMD F-125 locomotives pushed my train on towards its next and last stop at Union Station. From here, it was a 10-minute walk and a bus to the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
How many famous people are there? I literally know half of these just because they were on The Muppet Show.
Then it was another bus to Little Ethiopia for dinner. Dang, I filmed this a year before I started dating Kelkadon, but it was like I knew. Then I took yet another bus to La Cienega Jefferson Station on the E line, which I would be riding to Santa Monica. This light rail station is elevated above street level, providing a great golden hour view of the surrounding region. It's definitely a step above the line's right-of-way closer to downtown LA, where trains are at street level and sometimes have to wait for car traffic at intersections. Believe it or not, the E line isn't the first train to use this right-of-way. That would be the Los Angeles and Independence Railroad, opened in 1875. And it's not the first light rail on this route either. That would be the Pacific Electric Railway, which converted the line into an electric interurban in 1908 and operated it as the Santa Monica Air Line. That's airline with a space in the middle, an older term for a relatively straight rail line with fast service. If you rode the Pacific Electric's iconic red cars on this route then, you'd be on just one line of the world's largest electric railway. Indeed, at their peak, the red cars had over 1,000 miles of track, about 10 times as much as the current LA Metro. Vehicles carried both passengers and freight, and they served as far away as San Bernardino. For reference, that's a route Metrolink commuter rail covers now, not LA Metro Rail. Pacific Electric interurbans also served to help develop streetcar suburbs in the greater Los Angeles area, including Huntington Beach, named after the railroad's owner. But it wasn't all sunshine and roses at the Pacific Electric. The system was privatized, so line survival was tied to their ability to directly or indirectly make money. A lot of trackage in Los Angeles itself was in city streets, and other lines were riddled with grade crossings. In short, unlike East Coast cities who put their urban transit on elevated tracks or deep in subways, this backbone electric railway wasn't future-proofed, and the future was coming for it fast. Starting in 1924, the Santa Monica airline was reduced to only rush-hour service. There wasn't enough demand to keep it going beyond that, and other slower cars between LA and Santa Monica actually served where people lived and made more money. The following year, lesser-used red car lines began to be replaced by buses, a trend that would continue into the Great Depression. 1925 also saw the creation of the Hollywood Subway, a 1-mile tunnel that took red cars into an underground station in downtown Los Angeles, cutting off 8 miles of surface tracks. A much larger system of downtown subways had been proposed as far back as 1917, which in some iterations would remove red cars entirely from the streets of Los Angeles and have them all meet at a central underground station. But this was not to be. Instead, the quickly growing Los Angeles began sketching up a system of freeways to speed up drive times in what was already becoming one of America's most spread out metro areas. Some proposals called for Pacific Electric tracks to run down the middle of the new highways, and this was actually implemented briefly through Cahuenga Pass, only for the tracks to be torn out and replaced with just one more lane, bro. The next few decades were a slow death spiral of freeway construction and line closure, with the Santa Monica airline closed for good in 1953. Red cars were still running in streets which had more cars than ever before, and they just couldn't hold their own. The Los Angeles Metropolitan Transit Authority, a public agency initially founded to study the feasibility of a citywide monorail system, took over operation of the remaining Pacific Electric assets in 1958, and the final interurban line from LA to Long Beach closed in 1961. The legacy of the Pacific Electric is a rich and complex one, but all the same, it failed to achieve the longevity of contemporary East Coast metros, because, fundamentally, it was just a massive streetcar system that got in the way of cars. Even with some grade separation outside the busiest urban areas, it had next to no competitive edge against automobile traffic and freeways. Also, I'm taking a shot for every time someone tells me I forgot to mention the General Motors conspiracy in this video. A shot of insulin, that is, as prescribed by my endocrinologist. Happy National Diabetes Month. 3 years after the Interurban's demise, the Los Angeles MTA merged with 11 other bus companies to form the Southern California Rapid Transit District, or RTD. They went to work sketching up a 62-mile commuter metro system for the city, hoping to take advantage of generous federal funds from the Lyndon Johnson administration. This was put before voters in 1968 and failed at the ballot box. So RTD sketched up another design in 1974 featuring 145 miles of track, and that failed too. Had either of these measures passed, LA would have ended up with a modern metro system, perhaps akin to BART in San Francisco.
Hey, you forgot about the 1976 proposal where they just did the whole county, and that also failed.
How did you get in my apartment? But as it was, RTD decided that they needed to think smaller, so they started drumming up support for a starter metro line under Wilshire Boulevard. This frustrated the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. They wanted to see services expanded all over the county, not just in the city of Los Angeles, and they were keen on building these lines with light rail. This was just a few years before San Diego opened their initial trolley line. More about that in last week's video. So the Southern California Rapid Transit District set about building a metro, and the Los Angeles County Transportation Commission set about building light rail. Both plans were approved at the ballot box, only for President Ronald Reagan to cut a bunch of federal funding, forcing them to scale down. Eventually, the first light rail line opened in 1990 on pretty much the exact same route as the last former Pacific Electric interurban. Metrolink commuter rail trains launched in 1992 after extensive trials, false starts, and disputes with freight railways. Tom from Trains Are Awesome has a great video on the history of this. The SCRTD starter subway opened in 1993, SCRTD and LACTC merged to form LA Metro that same year, and the rest is history. Oh, and LAX? The C line of the light rail was supposed to go there, but never did. Apparently, the FAA was worried about the line interfering with flights, the local community didn't want it, and taxi, limo, and parking lot operators feared competition? Anyways, that brings us to today. LA Metro Rail is tasked with providing transit in a massive low-density region, where it's extraordinarily difficult to do so, and it hasn't exactly had the strongest support behind its development. Today it has 109 miles of track, and gets about 205,000 riders on weekdays. That's about half the ridership of Chicago's L system, which has about the same track mileage, but serves a denser city with a fully heavy rail system. Much of LA was built around the automobile, and for a lot of journeys, rail transit isn't people's best option for speed or convenience. But let's rewind for a second. In 1989, Los Angeles had no rail transportation other than Amtrak. Between then and now, they've built a metro system the size of Chicago's and opened over 500 miles of commuter rail, and they're showing no signs of stopping. In just the past few years, Metrolink has been expanded further into San Bernardino County with Aero DMU service, and has rolled out a new schedule making operations more akin to regional rail rather than commuter. The light rail has been expanded with the new K-Line and the regional connector tunnel in downtown. And just this past month, a new station opened at Aviation Century, bringing the C and K lines one stop closer to LAX. And there's more to come. Crews are hard at work, tunneling a D-line extension from Koreatown west along Wilshire Boulevard, the first segment of which is slated to open next year, along with an extension of the A-line to Pomona. Take that again, Belgium! The C and K lines are due to reach LAX soon, and a people mover is being constructed to ferry passengers from trains to terminals. Los Angeles is gearing up to host events of the 2026 World Cup as well as the Olympics in 2028, and the city wants the latter event to be a car-free experience for visitors. That's a bold claim for a city so strongly associated with the automobile, but if there's any place that has the momentum to make that kind of transit happen right now, it's LA. There's a lot stacked against LA Metro and Metrolink, and past decisions weren't the kindest to them. But nevertheless, they persisted. Who knows what they'll become in the future? Now, as I promised, here's an exclusive clip from my upcoming release, I Rode the Northeast Corridor in the UK, available now on Patreon. Enjoy! Finally, my next train pulled in. I'd be riding this LNER Azuma up to Newark-on-Trent. I got on board, and soon we were speeding up the East Coast Main Line. While these trains technically share a top speed with Amtrak's Northeast Regional, they felt a lot faster, as they accelerated quickly and spent more time at full speed. We passed more fields and villages before we came to a stop at Newark Northgate Station. Here on the platform, I spotted a Lumo service heading north to Edinburgh. Lumo is an open-access rail operator that competes directly with LNER. I spotted a few more Azumas here, and that was really all I had time for before the next train to York.
So, I'm sorry, New Jersey people, but I guess I planned that pretty badly.
Calling badly.
No.
You called?